I ain't gonna lie, y'all. I saw this on the big screen, and that's how you have to do it. What is up, Flick fans, and welcome back to my channel. I just watched the double feature Fathom event of the death of Superman and reign of the Superman. I am so excited to talk about this. If you guys don't know how my reviews work, I like to talk about the film and then give you guys my score. And I will start with this at the beginning of this review. So I watched the death of Superman last year, and I liked it, but I didn't love it. This gave me a new appreciation for that movie. I think I love that film, and I really had a good time with Reign of the Superman. It is not two movies. It is one giant movie split into two parts, and without watching the second half, I liked the first half, but there were things that were missing. There were moments at the beginning of the movie, and I'm like, okay, what was the point of that? That's a bit too much exposition. Some things are super on the nose, but after watching the second film, it all came back around, and it all came together in such a beautiful way, in my opinion, that it made me love the first movie, because the first half, it went from boring to, oh, this is really important. And then the second movie had the payoff that I needed from the first half of the first movie, and it made it all one giant, awesome experience. The double feature, I'm telling you, if you're going to watch these two movies and this comes back to theaters, that's the way to see it. Otherwise, when you're renting one, I say rent the other, because they go together hand in hand. Now that we've talked about the death of Superman, let's talk about the sequel, Reign of the Superman. After the death of Superman, several new people present themselves as possible successors to the mantle. I had a really good time with this sequel. I didn't know what to expect going in. Rewatching the first was an experience in itself, but then seeing how certain plot points tied together in the second one and coming back to our heroes. And the best thing about it, in my opinion, was starting out seeing them all grieving. Now, we got a little bit of grieving from some side characters, but mostly we focus on Lois Lane, how she handles the death of Superman, and seeing Ma and Pa Kent. That was sad. Of course it's going to be. But then seeing how Lex Luthor is handling the death of Superman. He handles it in his own way, in his own Lex Luthor style way. And what he starts to do is very maniacal, but you can't help but like the guy. First off, he's voiced by Dwight from The Office. Rainn Wilson does such a good job as Lex Luthor. And then you get that, oh, I don't like him because he's evil, but I kind of like him because he has this suave to him, this style, and you just can't help but enjoy him. Not just that voice, but the entire voice cast in this film is great. I love the people who voice the entire league. I love the side characters, and I love the voices of the new Supermen. You see it on the poster, all of these characters coming to life in a brand new and distinct way. Yes, this is based on the comic book story. It does things very similar to it in a sense, but in a different sense, it goes in its own direction. It does something new. If you are super faithful to the comic book, then I don't know if you're necessarily going to like that, but give it a chance, hold out, because by the end, I think you're going to be satisfied. Look, all I wanted from this film, I wanted a really cool payoff in a sequel. That's what I got. I wanted an entertaining time with these awesome DC characters. That's what I got. I wanted to see what happened with this particular storyline, and I wanted to see how the payoff, because if you know the story, you kind of know what the payoff is going to be. You kind of see certain aspects coming, so I can't call them predictable just because I already know the story, but they switched it up just enough and did something a little bit different, and then added in those elements that I wanted to see. I got those elements. I got the awesome fight scenes. I think my favorite character in this film is Steel. He is so cool. There is one scene with him in particular where there is a character reveal, and I'm sitting there like, oh, this is really predictable. I don't know if I like this, but all of a sudden, Lois Lane calls him out on it. She says exactly what the audience is thinking. The writing in that scene was hilariously fantastic. I shook my head and I said, Lois Lane, you got me. I love that scene, and I love how they continue to do that throughout the movie. You keep thinking to yourself, oh, this is going to be predictable. This is going to be a bit conventional. And while there are conventional elements in the plot, they always do something to either A, make the payoff really good, or surprise you in a way. I was surprised with the way that certain character elements, I don't want to spoil anything, but the way that some of those payoffs came about, and I really enjoyed that. I like how they just did not keep it predictable. Some elements are predictable, absolutely, but other elements I thought had a really cool payoff for these awesome characters. Are there those moments in there where you're like, okay, come on, the characters did not realize that was happening. There's one scene with the Justice League and something is literally about to happen to them and they don't see it coming, but they should see it coming because they're the Justice League. There's another scene towards the end where there is this giant lever. I won't say what it is because it's in the third act, but that lever is just screaming like, oh, we are super convenient for the plot, and I just found it a little bit like, okay, sure. But because I was so entertained and I was having so much fun with where this was going, I kind of just shrugged it off and said, that's fine, because a lot of the times these DC animated movies, they will go down that route that's a bit conventional, and sometimes they have a little bit too much exposition. Like I said, the first half of the first movie was full of exposition, but it's exposition that came back around in this film and had a bit of a payoff to it, and it made me appreciate that movie so much more. So I love the characters, yes. I like that we don't just focus on the Justice League, we get to focus on the characters on the poster, something I was afraid that we would not do. No, we absolutely do that. And seeing some of the action scenes between them was awesome. We get those adult jokes that we had in the first movie, we get those adult moments, whether it's a very violent moment or a really bloody punch or just some things thrown in there. I'm like, oh, I like that the kids maybe don't understand what's going on. I enjoy that. There were some great nods to the comics, some great nods to old DC shows, especially. There's a moment at the beginning of this movie where they nod to an old DC show, and I'm like, that's awesome. The DC animated films, they know their world so well, and they rarely deliver a product that is not good. They have all been either, okay, that's kind of cool, really good, or great. And Reign of the Supermen was so much fun. I was entertained from beginning to end, and I saw a story where I really cared about the characters, and that in itself is a major accomplishment, especially after walking out of the theater and saying, I enjoyed the death of Superman way more the second time, and once again, seeing this on the big screen was a treat. So I want you guys to leave your comments down below. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Has this thing paid off like you thought? Even if you think some things didn't work or it was a bit predictable, did you have a good time while watching it? Because that's the most important thing. And I'll say it, guys, I had a really good time watching this movie, and I am going to give Reign of the Supermen a 74%, even higher than I thought I was going to give it going into this review. Thank you so much for watching this video. As always, I am logging and reviewing movies on Letterboxd. You can go there right now, see where this movie lands in my 2019 list. It's #1. And then see where the death of Superman rose up to, because I enjoyed it so much more the second time. I moved it up my 2018 list. Thank you so much for watching this video. I will be back tomorrow morning with a trailer reaction for Spider-Man Far From Home, and then potentially a Dragon Ball Z Broly review on Wednesday. You guys are the absolute best, and I'll catch you very soon.